This is Dear Psychopomp. Let's talk about death. The podcast where we peel back the veil, sip tea with the Reaper, and get cozy with the inevitable. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I'm your host, Anne-Marie, your slightly morbid, death-conscious guide through the underworld of mortality, grief, and all the beautiful, messy things that the universe gives us. But before we dig in, a couple of important things. First, I am not a therapist, counselor, psychic, or priest. I'm just a death doula talking about death, dying, and all the shadows in between. This podcast is not a substitute for professional advice, support, or services. And please take care of yourself and seek help from licensed professionals if you need it. Second, some of the topics we explore can get heavy, emotional, or triggering. If anything hits too close to home, please step back, take a breath, or come back when you're ready. Your well-being is what matters most. Now, if you're still with me, light a candle, make peace with your demons, and let's talk about what really matters. Because death is just the beginning of a really weird, wonderful conversation. Joining us today is Dr. Robb Kelly, who helps people change their worlds using neuroscience and psychology. He is the founder of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group, and he's been featured on HBO, CNN, NBC, and more, speaking to his passion of showing clients how to look at their own thought patterns and behaviors that manifest from self-sabotaging and negative thinking. Dr. Robb, thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to say that I've read some of your book, and I'm so proud of how far you've come, everything you've accomplished, and how inspiring you are to other people going through the same things.
Oh, thank you. And it's great to be here. I know it's sometimes when they get on shows and they read back what I've done, it's like, wow, that's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
But here I am, and loving life and living life.
Good. As it should be. That's the whole
Yes,
meaning of life, is to love it,
yes.
right? And so I'm a huge science nerd, and I'm a life and death coach. If you've heard the podcast, I'm a death doula here in BC, Canada. And I'm truly inspired by your work using the positive psychology, coaching clients through mental wellness and addiction and trauma and alcoholism.
Yeah, many years ago, I suffered from alcoholism, lost children, houses, cars, wives, ended up homeless, died twice on the streets. Because of my homelessness and I just couldn't take it anymore. It brought me back to life twice. I hated them guys for that. And eventually, through a nice spiritual experience I had, got off the streets after 14 months and decided for the rest of my life, I'm going to go around and help people. So I was a licensed psychologist for many years over here, and then found out different parts of the brain react to different diseases, especially with childhood trauma, addiction, PTSD, depression, anxiety. So we pulled away from licensure, created a coaching company that changes the world. And we've been doing
Mm-hmm.
this for around 25 years with about 10,000 patients and a 98% success rate.
That's amazing.
I know, right?
Absolutely
And
amazing. I know some of the listeners, including myself, I suffer from CPTSD. I lost my father to alcoholism, and it was just the the one thing that we do have in common is a family history of alcoholism, and so presumably that also includes intergenerational trauma on your side. And can you speak to the many types of grief that one goes through when you're breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma?
it's childhood trauma is the gateway drug. Let's just put that in there. First, alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. So they're the two things that we found out. Uh, what happened with me with my childhood trauma, and everybody has childhood trauma, by the way, If you
Hmm.
don't, it's probably worse than you think and hidden in the subconscious mind. Um, it's everything. Now, I'm not a lot older than most people listening. I'm 64, so going back early to the 70s, maybe early 70s, everything was normalized when everything went wrong. So although I was molested by the priest, when I told my mom, she hit me with a wooden shoe and sent me upstairs to bed, saying, "Don't you ever accuse our great, church leader like that." So uh, from that, that affected my whole life. So the
Hmm.
running of emotion through life, the alcoholism, were born this way, generational thing we can explain later. But the drug addiction with the addictive personality was a place to hide. It was a place to get away from everybody and anything and become my safe place to go. Uh, but I had problems with my intimacy. I had problems with relationships. I had problems. I couldn't keep a job, and this was all down to the trauma that I'd suffered as a child. So when people say today, let's address the childhood trauma, we haven't found anybody yet that addresses the childhood trauma. They will address the molestation, the accident, the divorce, but alcoholics and addicts are more sensitive to childhood trauma. And it was simple as this from my mother to me. How many times have I told you, Robert, you can't go to college like your brother, you're too stupid? Now, that stayed with me, and to a certain point stays with me today. So when I'm stepping on the big stage and there's 80,000 people waiting for me to speak at the side, all that stuff comes back. No matter how hard you work in it, the subconscious brain tries to kill you and make it look like an accident, and all that stuff will come back. So the emotional roundabout that I've been on for so many years, and then only about 5 or 6 years ago, and did I fully find out what I'd been missing. The part of me that I'd never spoke about, the part of me that I'd blocked out completely. And when I changed that, I finally found my identity. Once one finds one identity, all better off. You can achieve anything you want to achieve. I mean, unless you've got serious brain damage, you can recover from everything. We have cured addiction, childhood trauma, PTSD, depression, anxiety. We've cured all of that. We haven't cured alcoholism because there is no cure. We're born this way from the fetus to the time when either we die or we try to kill ourselves or we drink, we fall into this alcoholic path where the hypothalamus takes over. So yeah, I mean it's been a ride, but I can honestly say I have a couple of things that I don't think a lot of people have. Number one, today I have enough. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what they say about me. I've done my own work. I'm proud of who I am. I love my life today, and we do a lot of giving back to people that society as a whole doesn't really know about. But it's constant giving back, helping people that were just like me, helping one parent families get the kids back, or paying rent for 12 months in an apartment so the kid can come back and the judge is okay with it. And I mean, it's just constant. Probably about $200,000 we give back, me and my wife, into communities in England and USA, because when I was suffering and nobody had a solution, and they couldn't tell me. Medical fraternity is still baffled with addiction, still baffled, no idea what they're talking about. Um, and I just wanted to delve in more and find out what are we missing here. See, the problem is with getting well and trying to build a business around that is there's not a lot of money around getting people well. Okay. The food industry gets us sick and the pharmaceutical companies keep us sick. So if you get well, you're a lost customer to them. So nobody's going to tell you stuff that I talk about. They're just not going to do it. And there's a lot of things in the body that we don't know. I mean, we just go to the supermarket. We did a live thing the other day on TV, and I was showing people, the bad stuff we're eating. So we went live into what we call HEB. It's a shopping mall, and we went straight to the health area, and this bar was 9 grams of protein, zero fat, and the cameraman went pointing to it. So it's a well-known brand. I took it off the shelf and looking at the camera, going, "Isn't that amazing?" And then we turned the package round. The first ingredient, canola oil. We can't methylate that. Second ingredient, sunflower oil. We can't methylate that. Third ingredient, GMO. We're just eating plastic food. We're eating food that we can't methylate. So you have all these diseases that are coming up. It's because we can. If everything we eat We don't use it in the form that we eat it. It has been methylated into a source that we can use for the human body. Well, the canola oils, the rancid oils of this world, and many, many other ingredients, we can't methylate. So when we eat this stuff that's supposed to be good to us, we can't methylate it. When you can't methylate a food or protein, there becomes a deficiency. When there's a deficiency, there comes the illness or disease, heart problems, cancer. All the stuff stems from that. Nobody's talking about that because it's not good business.
Hmm. Yeah,
Well,
we
we're off
truly
now, Anne. We're
become
off now.
we truly become what we consume, and that's not just food either. That's social media and the people we surround ourselves with, and the the thoughts that we have, because our parents' voices do become our subconscious thoughts. And I had been told that I wouldn't amount to anything. I would be homeless on the street and they
Mm,
wouldn't look twice at me. Um, just horrible, terrible things to tell a child. And I find that we become the adults that we needed.
I love that.
Hmm.
Never heard that before. That is so true. That
It's,
is
yeah,
so true.
because I mean, if you look at it, I am the very chill, very easygoing, empathetic, scientific. I love science, and it's just exactly who I needed. Which is also originally when I was younger, I wanted to become a police officer.
Mm.
I wanted to protect people, and then I got Crohn's and everything like that. But I find that the biggest thing that was an issue with my father and his alcoholism, of course, like you say, treating the problem, not the symptoms. And he didn't know what the problem was. But when he had this socially acceptable form of dissociation, that's when he felt he could open up. And so it kind
Yeah,
of became a crutch for him to talk about what was hurting him, because he couldn't do it when he was sober because he
yeah,
didn't think that anyone would listen.
yeah, yeah. We see that time and time again. It's
Hmm.
kind of sad, really. You know?
Hmm. And then I was, parentified and became the therapist.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. And, that's one of my, I wouldn't say regrets, but wishes. I wish I knew more about my father and his story so that I can understand more about my story.
yeah, yeah.
Because I know he lost his father to alcoholism.
Mm.
I don't know how. I'm pretty sure he was in his teens. Like I never met him, but it's treating the problem. So if we distill this down, what what keywords would you give as the problem for people to search for in those negative self-talk
Well,
with
when we say that
themselves?
we don't concentrate on the alcohol or the drugs or the food or porn or sex. We don't concentrate on that. So
Hmm.
uh, let's look at the symptom, alcohol, but let's look at the root cause. In the root cause, alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with every other addiction. Porn has 1% to do with porn. It's completely what you know about addiction and alcoholism and childhood trauma. You throw it away. We've been teaching the wrong books.
Hmm.
It'll be okay there. No. Our studies, and we've studied everything and trialed and researched over the 20th years that have been in America, cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, uh, is let's take alcoholism. Again, we're born this way. Well, that's impossible. We're born this way. We've changed it back to, before birth, the imprinted cells. And So let's treat the problem. The problem is the brain. I did never had a drinking problem. I tell people I had a thinking problem. My thought patterns are distorted, like many other addicts and alcoholics and depressed people. And we think differently to other people.
Hmm.
And people don't understand this. Depression is the silent killer because everyone. I mean, look at the comedians. And most comedians I've
Hmm.
ever met, whether it be in Vegas or anywhere, Florida, are sad people by nature. So stop
Hmm.
concentrating on what you can see and start going underneath and finding out what's really going on. So when we were looking at the brain, we used to do 95% alcohol, drugs, 5% everybody else. Now we do 95%. We teach entrepreneurs, we heal people, we do a lot more than anybody else does. Because I was adamant that something's going on in the brain that nobody knows about. So when we discovered the brain, alcoholism is the best way to describe it because it really makes sense. Is we found out that three parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. We found out that the hypothalamus is so we're talking about disease. Why is it a disease? So the hypothalamus from birth tells us, as human beings, controls temperature and obviously tells us to eat food, drink water to survive. That's it. At an early age, the baby, either cries with its hand in its mouth or to tell you it's hungry. It knows from birth that it needs to drink water and eat food to survive. It's a survival part of the brain. When the survival part of the brain is telling you to eat and drink, for so many years, it then becomes a working part of the mind. Once it becomes a working part of the mind, we don't have to think about it. We just do it naturally, what we call a knee jerk reaction. At a certain point with the alcoholic, usually in the 20s or 30s, the hypothalamus switches completely different and does a 180 to the alcoholics. And it tells us to drink alcohol to survive and not food and water. That's why we can go days or weeks without food or water. When the
Hmm.
hypothalamus is telling me, my survival part of the brain, if you don't drink alcohol, you're going to die, that's the madness, even though it's the opposite way round. The basal ganglia is another serious part of the brain when we're talking about everything, behavior and everything like that. Is it's kind of a repetition, strength, and confirms part of the brain. So if you can imagine a clock face, this is what we do with childhood trauma. So 12 o'clock, we're doing just fine. 10 after, we either go on a bender or we do something crazy of self-sabotage. 20 after, we come back with our tail between our legs. Half past, the wife lets us back in the house. 22, you get that amazing job offer at last. And at 10 to, we smash it all down again. That childhood
Hmm.
trauma been imprinted on the basal ganglia. So, that needs to be fixed as well. And the amygdala is where all the trauma is, amongst other things. But we have so much trauma that we stuff down, and the subconscious brain is stores everything from birth as traumatic. Everything. And even if you
Hmm.
don't think it's traumatic, it probably is, and it stores it and it stores it and it stores it. And the subconscious brain is very, very clever at releasing that information to you at the wrong time, or as far as he's concerned, the right time. So when you're just about to go in for the interview, ask that girl, getting married, have a babe, the subconscious brain will come to you and go, "Who do you think you are?" I had it loads of times on the side. I had it with the TV studios on the side of a stage ready to go on. It'll start. Who do you think you are? You are homeless. You come from the projects. You are next to nothing back England. Who do you think you are? You nobody. And I've got to squash that straight away with a mantra that I have, but it will always attack. So when we heal the basal ganglia, which is the childhood trauma, we go back, we uncover, discover, discard of said trauma. There may be 10, there may be hundreds, who knows? Uh, then you start to heal. Then the brain function as a whole looks completely different. But we took it one further than that. And what we found is this: once neural pathways, there are billions in the head, but with childhood trauma, most neural pathways in the head are self sabotaging, whatever that looks like to the person. So, most of the times when the prefrontal cortex is asking for a solution as quick as possible to a problem it's discovered, it'll shoot straight to the subconscious brain. So, most of the decisions are going to be wrong.
Hmm.
300 neural pathways die every single day. What are you replacing them with? Are you still replacing them with the same old, same old? I'm no good. I'm a waste of time. or you replace them with good stuff, new routines, happy, complimenting people, doing things we're not supposed to do as once sick people. I'm not supposed to be here doing what I do. The odds against me coming from where I come from, the lower end of the projects, making something, got a house and children, and then being homeless and lost everything to where I am now is humanly impossible. I always say this. So what happens is when we took it deeper, it's like once we have that change of neural pathways, and my mind, okay, guys, you've all heard mind over matter. Mind, can't see it, touch it, feel it. Over matter, the brain is matter, mind over matter. Okay. Once that happens, this mind connects with another energy outside you, and the change in neural pathways happen, your DNA changes. Why is that important? I'm not the same person as I was, Anne, all them years ago. I'm just not the same person. And this is what we talk about healing. It's a permanent solution for a temporary fix at the time. Everyone thinks we're doomed. Oh, I've stopped calling myself an alcoholic. I don't identify as that, or any kind of addict. I don't identify it. My name's Dr. Robb Kelly. I run 4 successful businesses. I have a great wife, 3 English bulldogs, and a cat. I live in that house I always dreamed of. I drive cars I only dreamed of, and I'm helping thousands and thousands of people. We give back. I'm living that dream where people don't think they can. And that idea of once I'm kind of this way, that's me for life, has to be smashed. So once you find your identity, you can do anything. Now, years ago, they used to say the same thing to me. It's you can be anybody you want. Well, I can't be president of the United States. That's what they all used to say to me over here. Let's forget the political views for a second, man, and take you back a few years. We had a freaking businessman running the country with no experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. Somebody's put that there. It's just not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think part of it is there's such a need for going fast and getting everything immediately. We have, Google at our fingertips and just the internet. And I think mixing that with social media, with all of the funny videos and things like that, it skewed our realistic expectations that we can have. And if you don't have that end goal, then you're going to stumble through. So if you remember, I had an episode where I did realistic expectations of the 21st century. And so realistically, yes, you can heal. You're not going to be this magical being who has forgotten what pain feels like or forgotten the experiences, or maybe you have. I mean, I don't remember like the first 30 years of my life, but it's setting those realistic expectations. So, movies tell us that we get our happily ever after, but they don't say that you still have to do the dishes and you're still going to have loss and you still have to go through the motions. There's going to be good days and bad days and absolutely mundane days. So I think having that realistic expectation of happiness is a choice, and it'll come in waves just like every other emotion. And I think that a very mentally healthy person is in touch with all of their emotions equally.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that I find with my clients is they stay stuck in grief because that is the last emotion that they had around this loved one or their beloved animals or their job or their entire identity. And so to be able to not stay in grief, you can honor it, and it's going to be a scar that you'll wear for the rest of your life. But living in it is living in denial as well. And I was wondering if you could tell the listeners a bit about how grief physically changes our brains.
It's funny you should ask that because 2 days ago I was on the World Conference for Grief. It's called the Grief Conference, World Conference, and they want
Oh,
you
is that with
want.
Tony Lynch?
Yes,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
he's my adopted older brother.
no, yeah, yeah. I absolutely adore Tony.
Oh,
Uh,
he's
so
amazing.
yeah, I was. There's a lot of things happen, to different parts of the brain, and people start once we start getting to grief. Uh, People feel sad at the time, but then it carries on. Then they feel guilty
Hmm.
about grieving, and my answer is that different parts of the brain, including the basal ganglia, is hit by this, and that after a certain time, obviously it gets better, but never to feel guilty about the feelings that you're feeling at the time. You have to mourn. You know,
Hmm.
years ago, and somebody said to me, "I can't come in today, Doctor Rob. My dog died," and I'm like, "What? What do you mean your dog died? You better get your ass in here. We're busy." Blah. Didn't understand it at all. It was about 19, I don't know, 17 years ago. But today, I have three English bulldogs, man. We had to put one down. She was had cancer about 12 months ago, and it absolutely destroyed me. It
Hmm.
destroyed me. And what I found is I needed time to heal of that completely, and I needed to be kind to myself, and I needed to have that time period where I was kind to myself and mourned about that. And like you said, it gets better and better and better. But I love what you said, Anne. The scar will always be there. I mean, today when we see a dog that looks like my wife kind of sad, and so I'm sad as well. It's crazy how it affects and causes depression. Causes PTSD. That amygdala jumps in the basal ganglia again. The three important parts of the brain that this all affects, and it becomes all it does. Well, it's not a disease or illness, but it almost becomes like it because there's nothing you can do about it. So when we'll look, I mean, there's a couple of things. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex kicks in. I make notes, so bear with me while I just do this. So what happens is the awareness and the coping doesn't happen because the trauma of such event and the sadness, it actually takes over, and so the coping and stress, the part of the VPC shrinks so that we can't cope as well. You see, not a lot of people know that. The feeling of being torn between, hey, get right, and it's okay, you should get over that. Just get over it. It's been a long time. That's the anterior cingulate cortex.
Hmm.
Again, with any kind of trauma, that's any kind of stuff like that, it shrinks and it doesn't operate well. So that also extends the time. It's crazy. The hippocampus is the big one. It's you just need time to go through this and understand what you're going through and heal that way. There's no
Hmm.
there's no time frame on healing. That's no what you're
No.
healing from. There's no time frame. But the more you put into situations where it reminds you of, after a few years, we found is it's kind of a smile, knowing quite well that in our case it was Mackenzie, my female bulldog, that she always shows the signs of there. Uncle Bob and my mum and dad are always with me. I can feel them and that they're with me. And I believe in God. I don't go to church, don't read the Bible, nothing like that. It's kind of a spiritual God. And I ask for stuff and it's delivered.
Hmm.
So the scar again, but now it's like I can see Mackenzie in the corner, I see mum and dad, my uncle Bob, who had a huge impact in my life. They're all there. So even though, like you say before, scar will always be there, but it becomes a scar that doesn't itch anymore. It becomes a scar that, it's livable with. So
Hmm.
it's just amazing, but you have to understand the full, the quantum physics and the science behind the brain to understand that all these things are going on. It's not just you. All these things are going on. You just can't get over it. That's not the case. There's a biological reaction that can really affect us.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I think you touched on how there's no proper timeline or anything for grieving. And there's not, because every situation is unique to every person based on nature versus nurture versus everything else. And I think my theory is we are in a rush to grieve because other people are uncomfortable with our grief because
yeah,
they see us grieving for what they say is too long. And they
yeah,
say that because next time I'm grieving, I don't want to be feeling those bad feelings for as long as they did. So if they can get through it quickly, that means I can later on.
yeah, yeah. It's
And so it's
crazy.
this weird grief
Yeah,
competition.
right. Yeah.
And I always say that grief is not a competition.
Mm, mm,
You know, you've had your losses and so have I, and while there may be similarities, it's not,
mm,
there's no award for grieving the hardest or grieving for the shortest amount of time or anything like that. And I feel that, I always say that the healing is in the feeling.
mm,
So as much as we are nowadays into rushing things, because we've kind of glamorized being busy and productive and having no time, and to be able to sit down with no TV, no distractions, no phone, maybe a pen and paper or guided meditation or something like that, to just allow your body to think about those things and to cry those tears and to feel that anger. Because most people get stuck in grief because they don't want to feel those bad feelings.
yeah, yeah,
But the
yeah,
quicker, the irony of it is, if you let it happen, you will heal quicker than if you avoid it.
yeah, yeah. About
And
that.
it sucks. We don't like doing things that suck. And I get it, but life sucks sometimes,
Yeah,
often
yeah.
when you're not expecting it. And it's not necessarily what you go through, it's how you get through it mentally.
That's the big one. It's how you
Mm-hmm.
get through it mentally. That's the saver or the loser. And with this, it's like I have to say nobody can hurt you unless you put your perspective on what they've just said to you. It's just
Absolutely.
our brains are different. Everything around us is different. It's your way. But like we say today, we can the iPhones and the pads and the work and everyone's got to lose their job. So you get a guy. I always kind of put this scenario. You get a guy at work and the boss comes over, it's Monday, and he goes, "Hey Jimmy, don't forget that report. I need it on my desk on Friday by noon." "Yeah, yeah, boss, no problems." Tuesday goes by, "Oh, I've got to do that report." Wednesday goes by, "Yeah, I've got to do it tomorrow." Thursday comes, Friday morning comes, 6 a.m. He wakes up, "Shit, I've not done the report." So he gets into work and he types absolutely crazy. He's sweating, he's gulping down coffee, he's trying to as quick as can at 5 minutes to the hour. Bang, he presses go. And he convinces himself he works well under pressure. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
works well under pressure. The body is not meant to work under that pressure. Why are you putting yourself? There's a lot more to it. So when you trace that back of that guy, you find out all the childhood trauma and all the stuff in his family's life were last minute. Everything was last minute. Everything gets put off. Everything, and relationships don't last, and you can't keep a job. All this crazy stuff that is showing science today is
Mm-hmm.
it's insane. If people, one of the things I did some 2 3 years ago was just, we only have the now. I used to hate that saying when people say, "Well, it's just one day at a time." It's like, shut up. But
Right. Be
life is
present.
now. Life is not tomorrow. Life is not yesterday. Life is now. Everything you need and want right now is here, right now. Why are you worrying stuff? So I slowed everything down psychologically. Um, and it just became, it's like somebody lifted a ton weight off my shoulders. Now, again, I don't care what people think of me today. I really don't. People say that and don't really mean that. I said it for years and years, but you could cut me with 2 words or even one word, and you'd never know. But I'd be suffering for days and weeks. I spoke at
Mm-hmm.
there was a place in California that I spoke. There was 1,000 people there, and I turned up, and he said to me after the talk, we've put an extra like 90 minutes on because every single person in here uh, comes to the stage and they shake your hand and thank you for coming. I mean, I came from Texas. It's a long way. And sure enough, I finished, standing ovation, and the front said, everyone, 999, and said it was amazing. And one person said it was terrible. I was too angry. Have a guess who I concentrated on for the next 3 months and almost relapsed? That one guy. See, what happens with childhood trauma with the subconscious brain is the subconscious brain is vigilantly watching every day, every minute a day for something to go wrong. It's expecting it to go wrong so it can jump on that one thing, that one minuscule that didn't happen, but it'll jump on that, and it makes a big thing, and it hijacks the rest of the brain. Says you're a waste of time, you're rubbish, you can't do this. Where 99% of the brain is going, what are you talking about? It was awesome, people loved it, and
Mm.
it all kinds of ties into the mourning, the addiction, the anxiety. It all ties in, and if you can live today. I have no idea what I'm doing tomorrow, and my assistant will send my day over tonight at 8 o'clock. Bing, every 8 o'clock. Bing, there's your day, and I can handle that because I don't want to know what's tomorrow. What can I cram in today? How can I help people? I work vigilantly with my patients, and all this other stuff that we're doing right now. We have a lot of fingers in lots of different pies because I love being busy, but it's only today. If I don't stand here and breathe, because we only breathe 45% of our lung capacity. That's where most of the illness comes from. The presence of oxygen equals the lack of disease. We don't take oxygen because we're always busy. We're always trying to move to the next door. I used to drive home. I was 4 miles away from home. I used to drive. Oh, get out of the way. What am I going? There's nothing at home. I'm going to get at home, turn the TV on, and sit down. What? And I'm bibbing the get out of the way. It's craziness. But it's what the world has become. It's like, you need to stop, man. You need to stop. And we go in our house. I only work 4 or 5 hours at the most a day. Me and my wife, we get home, we get our cell phones, we put it in a box, and we put the box on the kitchen table, and we sit down and we do stuff. And we do that for 3 hours.
Mm.
And after the 3 hours, you can go back and look at it by all means, but it ain't ruining our lives. You go in, I own a restaurant next door. It's called the Old English Tea Shop. It's a British restaurant with all British food and stuff like that from England. And we have a box at the front of it, and it says phones. And people going, what do you want my phone for? Yeah, pretend it's 1970. Talk to each other. And Matt, people has come on. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. God, I could not talk like this for age. Thank you so much for saving our family. Like people coming in who's going to file for divorce, when they have an hour or two conversation, even with the kids, it changes people. We forgot another human being, how they feel. We've forgot how to be present and intimate with another human being. I was speaking to a kid who was trying to get well, and I said to him, "How many friends you got?" Oh, I'm up to about 5,500 now. I went, "Brilliant! All your friends, well, on Facebook, dude, you're plugged into the wall. What? What? You're plugged into the wall, man. You ain't got what?" And we've lost that. And part of this company as well is getting that back. The learn how to be human again, and
Yes.
take a load of pressure off you. Learn how to be you. Stop. We did everything I say, and we've surveyed. Like I'm crazy on surveying and researching. We were amazed how many people drive Mercedes cars. So, because they're like the affordable posh car. I mean, the Porsches are expensive, but the only reason they drove the car is because they're a badge and the next door neighbor, pissing them off to make you think that I'm richer than you. So they went deeper than that. Why do people buy Louis Vuitton bags? Yeah. So, or all sorts of these crazy bags. So it's to
Hmm.
show the people that the rich. Well, guess what? No rich people buys Louis Vuitton. They get it free. The middle class and the lower class, they buy Louis Vuitton, trying to look like the rich people. It's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane what people, they spend 5 grand for a purse, and they can't pay the electricity bill that month. I
Yeah.
mean, it's insane. I used to be there. I used to be one of those people, but that's the kind of stuff we teach today. It's not just addiction. It's like how to find you again. We find this with women that separate or divorce from the men. It's like they come out of that marriage with no identity. They have no idea because it was his football team, it was his blah blah blah, and they come out and they've lost it completely. And we have to
Mm.
start building and finding their identity because most people don't know their identity. It's like, you have a job for like 30 years and then the job ends all of a sudden. what's your identity? It used to be the job, but what is it now? Many people say, I don't know. I just don't
Yeah.
know.
I had that when I left my last job. I was a 911 dispatcher, and I made it my identity because I was so proud of it. I thought it was so cool. It, tons of overtime. I was there constantly, and then I left because of my health, and it was like, okay,
What now?
who am I now?
And it's
What
crazy
do
because
I
people
do?
think that the job is like, oh, we're all family, and you're not family. You walk around the same piece of carpet for 8 hours. Let's get real about this. Find your
Yeah, we're all
identity.
getting
Be
paid.
something outside there. So again,
We're all getting paid to be there. It's
exactly. The only one reason you go to work, oh, because I love my job. No, no, no. If they said do it free, you wouldn't do it. We go to work for one thing, and that's to make money, to earn, to make a living, to look after our family. That's it. Don't
mhm.
be dragged into all this. There's no such thing as a permanent job these days. And that's
Yep.
one thing I'm proud of me is I have toys, I have everything I need. But you know something? Take it all away tomorrow. It ain't gonna bother me. Put me in a tent in the middle of the park with my wife, three English bulldogs, and my cat, and I'll be just as inspiring tomorrow as I am today. I don't get connected with those things. I just really don't. I own nice things. I like watches. I like cars. They're
Hmm.
kind of the things that I love. So like my dad always told me, do not go into debt for anything that's kind of your dream. So if you can pay cash for it, then have it. And that's what we've done all the time. And material things don't own us. They really. I don't care about a Mercedes badge on the front. Who cares? But there comes a point when you run four businesses that you have to buy expensive cars for the tax write-off. So we have the Range Rovers and we have all the big cars. They're a tax write-off. They're not. It's not showing me, look at me, I'm rich. It's either look at me paying this 150 grand either to the car, which I get full write-off if it's only £6,000, or I give it to the taxman.
Hmm.
Oh, it was a no-brainer, and it's legal. And, it's just
Yeah.
you need
I
to
mean,
look at your
things
life.
things are wonderful, and the toys and everything like that. But when we die, we don't get to take those with us.
Correct. Yeah, and that's when you
It's
can't
all
get
borrowed.
emotionally attached. Can't
Hmm.
get emotionally attached to that stuff. You really
Hmm.
can't. I've been poor and I've been rich, and don't get me wrong, guys. I choose rich every single time, but because of my background, nothing's defining me. Well, I can't. If I don't have this, if did all that, I
Hmm.
did all that in Dallas, and I was still the most miserable person in the world.
Hmm.
Coming out this beautiful house, uh, with my second wife, getting into my fantastic new 911 turbo, was costing like 180,000. Going to my offices in Highland Park, very, very posh, miserable, absolutely miserable. And this was only like 9, 10 years ago. Miserable. I had to find out who I was. I had to find out that it's an inside job. Who get
Hmm.
the money? Don't get attached to money. Don't get attached to. Well, it's okay for you to say that. No, I'm telling you, don't get attached to that stuff. It will come if you're in the right mind. Getting you right first. Look after you first, and everything else will fall into place, man. We block things off around us from our past behavior. So neural pathways can't connect to health, to wealth, to happiness because the subconscious brain keeps coming in and tells you you're not worthy. And instead of connecting that
Hmm.
neural pathway, it flails off because somebody's I don't know about you, but when we were kids in England, we used to kick a football around and, hey, Jimmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. What about you, Billy? I want to be an actor. What happened to them dreams? I'll tell you, they were kicked out of us by our family and friends. Don't be stupid. You can't play football. Says who? That's what Big is saying today. Well, you can. Says who? And it's a conversation stopper. Me and my wife got married on a Saturday, and on a Monday, we had an argument about something silly. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And she said, that's the way marriage is. And I said, says who? And we both looked at each other. We throw things when I'm online. I'm surprised she hadn't been in there and thrown like a rubbish shoe at me. We have a great relationship because we're not following the norm. Says who? You can have anything you want. You can be anybody you want to be, man. I'm telling you, I've proven it millions of times with the guys that follow me. It's just stop putting the brakes on your imagination.
Hmm.
There's no ceiling in this life. I mean, we're here for a short period of time. We spend most of the time worrying. 90% of stuff we worry about never comes true. It just, You've got to let life happen. You've got to let the universe, show you what it's got for you. You've got to stop worrying about stuff, man. It just ages you. That's all it does. My mum used to say, like, worrying and jealousy were wasted emotions. Oh my God, was she
Mm-hmm.
true? So that's how I live today. I always say I'm living the dream instead of dreaming of living. Because when I was on the streets, I used to dream of living. I've walked past houses, I've had a couple of children in there, and they'd be all sat around the table. And I said, I just, God, if you're up there, I just want one day of doing that, man. I couldn't even think about sitting on a table with a family. 4 years ago, my daughter got in contact with me after 30 years. I flew over there within 4 hours. We're on a plane. I get there next day. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. She opens the door. We hugged. We cried. And this is what happens when you do the right thing. She took me by my hand. She led me into a front room, a living room, and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. She's my lead therapist in my Manchester office. This is what happens when you do all the things that Anna and I have just talked about. This isn't a myth, man. This isn't like some sort of, comedy thing. Well, I'm sure that. No, it really does happen. But you've got to live in the now. Deal
Yeah,
tomorrow when it comes, man. What can you fit in today? Don't procrastinate. What can you fit in today that you have a full day, you help a bunch of people, and you haven't hurt anybody? Life will change.
it's true. To to serve is to be served.
Oh,
It just
100%.
fills your cup, and
Mm,
I truly believe that what other people think of me is none of my business.
that's it. And it's hard to get, well, I don't know about you, Anne, but for me, it's hard to get there. This nursery rhyme you see, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt. Wow, it's such a big lie. Of course, words hurt
Yes.
us. We're human beings. But to get to a point where you and I are is, I really don't care. Yeah, but well, what are you going to do to me like I haven't done to myself? I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
and the
it's
thing
such, I'm so
is,
glad you got there because you're a lot younger than me, but it took me a long time. Last 2 years, that's all, Anna, did I get to that place?
mhm. It's hard to get to that place. It's definitely a lesson that I had to learn a few times before it stuck. And I stumbled upon it doing the shadow work with trying to move through how my parents treated me.
Mm,
And so I've come to really feel and know that how other people treat you is a
oh,
reflection of themselves,
oh,
and they can
yes.
only meet you as far as they've met themselves. And the
Damn.
thing that gets us is that
Damn.
the only people that we really know are ourselves.
Mm,
And so we have this natural assumption that other people that we interact with are going to be like us as well. And so when they're not, that's when we have conflict and personality issues and different cognitive abilities and things like that. And I think that's also why people are so drawn to things like true crime, because they're like, oh, I would never do that. How can someone else do that? I'm so curious. Like, what was wrong with them? And we almost watch true crime just to be like, well, my life's pretty good. I'm doing good.
mm, mm, mm. Wow. That was a mic drop then, Anne.
Oh, thank you.
Damn. I can only meet you where you, oh my God, it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard that said before, but God, that hit me
Yeah.
right in the heart, that.
And just some
True.
people haven't met themselves,
No.
and they might not.
Yeah, ooh, there's another one. Then
Yeah.
they might not. Damn.
Yeah. You can't expect other people to do the work that you would.
No.
What's that saying? Like, just because you don't eat the lion doesn't mean he's not going to eat you.
Yeah.
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 Wow. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So, as we wrap up here, I'm just having the most wonderful discussion with you. I want to thank you again for being here. And where can our listeners find you online?
So if you're listening and not watching, guys, I spell my name with two B's, ROBBKELLY.com, or Dr. Robb Kelly in any search engine will come up on all the social medias. Um, just for this show, okay? I don't know how many views you've got. But just for this show, guys, listen to me carefully. We have a software it's called Breathbox. It's 9-dimensional breath work with subliminal messaging. And I know it's changing lives just after an hour. So listen to me carefully. If you get in contact with me and say you've seen us on this show or mention, and I'm going to set you up for a free 20-minute. It's telehealth online, a free 20-minute 90 breathwork therapy session. Mind blowing. It's like 5 years of therapy in 1 hour. It's just people. This is what we use with the rich and famous. We take this system out and they use it, and we use medical infrared, which is photo modulation units. And but 90, I can do online, man. So if you say, "Hey, listen, I love Anne. I saw you on the show. I'm going to sign you up with one of our people, man. In fact, I'm going to sign you up with the CEO of Breathbox, which is my like a company underneath me. I own Breathbox. I'm going to set you up with the CEO to take you through 20 minutes free of charge. And there's no catch. We don't want your business. We got enough. I got enough money, thank you. But just come and listen, and it'll change the world. I promise you.
Thank
Oh, and
you.
one more
Thank you
thing.
so much. Oh, yes.
Just for listeners here and watchers, this book, please don't buy it on Amazon. This book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, is the last thing my daughter said to me when the authorities took them off me. If you mention and myself or this podcast, I'll sign this to you. I'll send it out free of charge. I'll pay for shipping and everything. But if you say you've seen this show on one condition, you pass it on to somebody else who would thoroughly enjoy it. That's it, guys. Boom! We're in today.
Bam.
Bang!
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you, Anne. It's been an absolute pleasure. I do thousands of these, and I'll tell you something now. And I don't think I've ever said this. I could sit down with you, Anne, for the next 5 hours, and I don't think we'll be bored. We'll still be talking because it's like two friends. I don't even know who you are, but it's like two friends. And how this works for us, guys, just to let you know, how this works for us is we turn a lot of them. We don't do podcasts usually, but my media director, Courtney, she strolls the internet, or I want to say day and night. I'm sure she does, and she finds people that are changing the world. And she watches one of the podcasts, and she goes, "Oh my God!" So we've stopped asking how many listeners. We started asking how many lives does that girl save, and that's when Courtney comes after you. You were handpicked to put us
Wow.
together. Yeah, it's really it's not like anybody else does. I mean, everyone wants to sell the program, sell the books and everything. We don't sell nothing. It's like she knew that if me and you got together, the world would change. And that's all I want. So you, my girl, are amazing at what you do in saving lives, and you're beautiful and you're intelligent. And thank you so much for
Oh,
taking the time for me to come
thank
on here and
you.
share it with you.
Thank
It's
you
been
so
amazing.
much.
Of course, of course.
I have one more question before we go. What is your favorite planet and why?
I mean, I've got to say Earth, man, because I have big dreams for Earth. I really
Mm-hmm.
do. That we're trying to change, and the new Health Minister Kennedy, we're kind of talking to him about, different aspects of changing the health system as far as we're concerned. But yeah, I mean, second would be, I don't know, it'd probably be Mars, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe we'll get there one day. We've got to get to the moon first, and then maybe we go to Mars. I don't know, but yeah, definitely Earth.
Beautiful answer. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If it resonated with you, please hit the like button, share, subscribe, and if your platform allows, leave a comment and kindly let me know what you think. Your support means the absolute world to me and keeps this podcast going. You can find me online at dearpsychopomp.com or contact at dearpsychopomp.com. Death isn't a secret. Let's talk about it.